In November of 2024, I set sail on a journey to create a 2.5D RPG called Immortal Boy, my first legit commercial indie game. It's for fans of RPG games like Omori and Undertale, as it's party-based and features bullet hell elements. The page is up on Steam right now and you can put your wishlist on it. I'm not asking. Now I can comfortably say that development has reached the halfway point, as I'm done developing the prologue, chapter 0 and chapters 1 to 4, with chapters 5, 6, 7 and 8 left to go. Now I'll have to be very honest with you, Immortal Boy's development is definitely a victim of overscoping, which means ideas and concepts grow bigger than originally planned. It can be due to several reasons, but the main one for me is the fear that the game would become too boring and short. Since I am including a $10 price tag, it puts a lot more pressure to make the game better, more fun, and more filled with content. As a result, I sometimes feel the urge to include more features and games within the project that wasn't originally planned. Consequently, in my project, after 300 days, I have programmed a whopping 600 coding files with almost 40,000 lines of code, which is more than 100 lines of code every single day. Now I know some people are gonna say, oh, that's normal, and they code, 300 million lines of code for their Flappy Bird clone? You disgusting humans. But personally, I don't think too many unnecessary lines of code is something to be proud of because of one thing: maintenance. For game devs who are making long-term games, it is very important to remember or at least note down what various parts of your code does and doesn't do. Personally, I love the fact that I use the programming language C#. It's easy to learn, the syntax is clean, and it works relatively well with the Unity game engine itself. However, even with this, I do feel the weight of all this code is really starting to come pressing down on development. But to counter this, I am still learning the intricacies of C# and the various tips on how to make my code more clean and organized with various YouTube tutorials on the internet. Because even though I've used Unity for 6 years, there's always more to learn. Now back to the actual development of the game. Chapter 3 is called Feast Festival, which you can probably guess centers around the theme of food. I'm not sure if anyone remembers the Luncheon Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey. It was probably my favorite kingdom in that game, mainly because of the fun puzzles, the colorful visuals, and the very creative use of food within the stages. So for this chapter, I wanted to replicate that colorful aesthetic into the levels and maps. Hence, I started by designing a few lollipops and muffins in Blender. I didn't really want to go for an exact replica of Luncheon Kingdom, so instead of fruits, vegetables, and whole foods, I decided to go for more unhealthy foods like candies and snacks. After placing them all over the map, I brainstormed on a few more ideas of the types of locations, eventually making a town called Feastville, with a variety of shops and buildings meant to house the various citizens there. Speaking of the citizens, there are multiple races and ethnicities inside Feastville, including donuts, tacos, tomatoes, waffles, and more. It is so far the most I had to use colors and materials because there are a lot of colorful models. Now you might be wondering why the 4 main protagonists are even here in the first place. If you don't remember the game story is about 4 friends traveling across several locations to find an object that can grant anyone's deepest and darkest wish, which is pretty similar to the plot of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The plot of this chapter is quite simple. They need to participate in some sort of tournament here to gain access to the next location. In the tournament, they will need to participate in various challenges and other competitors to win. This chapter does have a plot twist, which is Now enough yapping about the story, I want to talk about another small feature that Immortal Boy has, which is minigames. These minigames would be played throughout the exploration sections of the game, mainly serving as puzzles for progression or rewards. I had a lot of fun making these minigames, as it had pretty much nothing to do with the gameplay, so I was just free to make up whatever I wanted. Of course, the aesthetic selling point of Immortal Boy is that it has some elements of the classic Windows 98 interface, aka web core, which is something I implemented here because of the use of low quality pictures, bit crush sound effects, and old Windows text fonts. There's another issue I want to bring up which relates back to the aforementioned problems, which is the variety in gameplay. One of my biggest fears in game development is people calling the game boring, repetitive, and just another clone of another game. To combat this, I decided to have some of the enemy turns have a specific mechanic for each chapter of the enemies. And of course, to brainstorm some ideas, I would of course need to do one thing.
I must consult with ChatGPT.
The prologue, chapter 0 and chapter 1 contain the first few battles, so it typically means that they contain the most basic ones. Chapter 2 contains some special mechanics relating to the snowy mountain setting that it takes place in, such as a slippery ice rink, snowballs, and strong winds which prevents you from jumping. In chapter 3, it's a hunger system which slows your movement the more you move. I've already made the main mechanic for chapter 4, chapter 5 I'm still working on it, and chapters 6 and 7 I haven't decided yet. The reason why I left out chapter 8 is because I also have plans to vary not just the enemy turn, but the player turn as well. Currently, it's just mashing the spacebar as many times as possible. The more you mash, the more damage you deal. It can get a bit annoying at times, and it might even break a few keyboards, so in the future, I might plan to make it different for every chapter or enemy. Maybe something a little more akin to Undertale's timing strike, or maybe hitting some keys in the right combination to deal more damage. Now back to the gameplay. I don't think I've discussed one important feature about this game, which is the shop, which is named the Element Store, where you can buy items in exchange for twinkles, which is the game's currency. It works similar to any other shop. You can purchase items which can boost your health, attack, and defense, and some of your currency will be deducted. Additionally, there is also a limited stock, which means you can't just buy an unlimited supply of apples at the start of the game. The owner of the Element Store is a robot from the upcoming chapter 6 named Chester, who has some weird dialogue, but he is also one of the main exposition dumps of Immortal Boy, so he is quite important for the world building. But this does lead me to another problem. Take a look here. You see the problem? It's a complete mess. I've gotten a few feedbacks telling me that the UI is kind of all over the place, and taking a look at the inventory menu, I can see what they mean. If I were a player, I wouldn't really know what to press, where to consume an item, or even which button I'm currently interacting with. It's not a high priority task as of now, as I want to focus on making the actual content of the game, but it's something I wanted to mention as a potential problem in the future. Speaking of the futures, in the next devlog, I will cover the development of chapter 4, which was probably the easiest chapter to make so far, so do subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if we do, I might consider making some kind of giveaway for the game and the soundtrack to a few lucky subscribers. So seriously, subscribe. Now, please click the link in the comments and wishlist the game right now. It takes only 2 clicks, and we are also trying to get the wishlist up to 2,000 because it has 500 right now. So go do it now.
Listen to me very carefully. If you want to play this game, you need to trust me, not him. Everything he has said about the store is a lie. My friends are a lie. She is a lie. And I am a lie. And when the time comes and the game releases, you will know exactly why.